invite Dr. David Turpin, the President of the University of Alberta, to address Convocation.
Eminent Chancellor, distinguished guests, members of the Academy, staff, family, friends, and especially you, graduates. Congratulations and well done. If we have done our job well, you are facing a tremendous amount of accomplishment today. And the reason is simple. We have pushed you, asked you to work hard, to think in new ways, and test your limits. And you've done it. I hope that you also feel prepared to pursue new challenges and ask even more of yourselves in the days and years ahead. Because we need you. We need your new ideas, your skills, and your energy. We need your enormous potential to help us build a better, stronger, more just, and compassionate Canada. Your potential and capacity to help has particular meaning this year as we celebrate the 150th anniversary of Canada's Confederation. I was only 10 years old when Canada celebrated its centennial in 1967. My memories of that year are filled with the fun and the wonder of it. The centennial train making its way across the country, the Centennial Fitness Challenge that tested every school kid, and the space-age buildings of Montreal's Expo 67. Now, 50 years later, I've been thinking about what it means to be a Canadian. One thread runs through it all: diversity. In 1967, although I was a so-called typical kid, I figured out early on that there were many ways to be Canadian. My family had ties in this part of the world that go back 7 generations. Both my grandmothers came from farming families, one in Saskatchewan and one in southern Alberta. On the other hand, both my grandfathers were immigrants to Canada. One was a Welsh opera singer who, in a very unlikely turn of events, fell in love when his company was touring through Calgary. It changed his life and mine, creating connections for me far beyond the borders of Canada, connections that endure to this day. Those ties deepened and extended even further when I married my wife Shermithra and became part of her family. She was born in Germany and then immigrated with her family from India to Canada in the 1960s. And our family in India is very much a part of our lives today. As I've grown older, my many Canadas have included living in Alberta's prairies and foothills, BC's rainforests and seacoasts, and Eastern Ontario's Canadian Shield, Great Lakes, and rivers. I know my story is not unique. I expect that many of you experience a similar layering of identity and connection. There is no one Canada. We are all many cultures, histories, languages, and geographies in one. This is the very essence of the Canadian adventure, Lester Pearson, Canada's Prime Minister in 1967, said. Out of this diversity must come unity. I thought of this last week when I joined members of Alberta's Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities in the circle of a pipe ceremony. We were preparing to sign a memorandum of understanding with the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. As we were sitting in that circle, Elder Jerry Saddleback told us, we are all in unison, held in equal esteem. We exemplify unity in diversity. Each of us, equal in our distance from the center, but with slightly different perspectives. Unity in diversity. Can we achieve reconciliation without it? How can we build a better Canada without continuing to pursue the great Canadian adventure of finding unity in diversity? For me, a better Canada would ensure that all people feel welcome, safe, and accepted, and able to give back to their communities, regardless of their background. A better Canada would engage peoples and countries around the world, not for self-interest, but for our common interest. A better Canada would be innovative and in the forefront of the global knowledge economy. In short, A better Canada would be one of the most socially, culturally, economically, and environmentally prosperous of nations. What does a better Canada look like to you? When you look ahead to Canada's next 50 years, the 50 years that your generation will shape, what can you do to make our country better for all? I look at the auditorium today, and I see many Canadas reflected back to me in your faces. That diversity is a tremendous strength, but it is a strength we cannot take for granted. We can instead be tempted to draw definite borders around who we are and limit what it means to be Canadian. But what would be the result? Look back over our first 150 years and you can see that Canada has been scarred by such attempts to fix our identity. We need only think of the residential school system or the Chinese head tax to see that limiting our definition of Canadian has hurt our First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples, as well as numerous immigrant and other minority communities. All of them, without exception, have done so much to build this country. When I think of the divisiveness and isolationism present in so much political discourse across the world today, I fear that we have failed to learn this lesson. We seem to be choosing instead to sit in our customized echo chambers, where we literally don't have to see or hear from those we'd rather not acknowledge. As members of the University of Alberta's diverse community, you have a great advantage. While studying at the U of A, you have encountered and listened to people who have ideas and perspectives different than your own. You've opened yourselves to each other and created a space where you could hear each other, see from each other's perspectives, and find solutions together. Finding what is common between us, using our differences to be innovative and creative, these are skills you've developed here, and I ask you to use and expand them through the coming years. When you reflect back in 50 years on how Canada has changed since Canada 150, I hope that you will be able to look back with the knowledge that you took these skills and your particular talents and potential to help make Canada a better place for all of us. Take inspiration from the thousands of U of A alumni who have already left a tangible legacy in every sector of society, in the laws they have written, the movements they have led, the scientific discoveries that have changed our lives, the businesses they've built, and the students they have taught. Now, it is your turn. It is your turn to step up. It is your turn to build a better, stronger, more prosperous, just, and compassionate Canada. The next 50 years are yours, so take advantage of it. Congratulations to each and every one of you, and we look forward with great anticipation to all your future accomplishments. Thank you.